Lacrosse community, my name's Ryan Berns. I'm the founder of the Lacrosse Leadership Institute. It's our mission to empower all those that love lacrosse to use that as a foundational skill to ultimately live the life of your dreams. Today, we're so fortunate to be joined by an all-time great, four-time All-Patriot League standout from Army, as well as a coach at all levels, most recently in the PLL with the Chrome. Please help me welcome John. And John, thank you for taking the time today. Can you please start by sharing with our community a little bit about your background, how you got into lacrosse, and a bit of that journey you've gone on?
Of course. Thanks for having me, Ryan, first and foremost. But I was kind of one of those guys that was born with a lacrosse stick in the crib. I grew up on Long Island in Dix Hills, New York. So it's been a part of my family since I could walk, basically. My whole mom's side of the family were heavy into lacrosse since I could walk, basically. I was going up to my cousin, Randy Frazier. He played at Springfield College, then went on to play in, for decades, it felt like, in the pro indoor league. So he played for the Boston Blazers, Buffalo Bandits, New York Saints, just about everybody. So I grew up going to those games. And my uncle was a coach at Islip High School for about 40 years. So on the high school level, getting to watch there. And then I was able to actually play lacrosse at West Point. So played there and then got to go into coaching. But, from an early age, I knew lacrosse could open a ton of doors for me. So I always just focused on that. I played football and lacrosse in high school at Half Hollow Hills West, but I always knew that I would kind of gravitated to lacrosse to actually give me that opportunity to go ahead and play in college. And again, just, being able to watch my uncle as a coach and then my cousin Randy go into coaching afterwards, it kind of made sense. My military career actually got cut a little bit short because I had a back surgery after my junior season. So I started, I had a 6-month gig where I'd be a second lieutenant, but I go down to Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, where Army's prep school was. So I was supposed to coach for 6 months, and I was never actually allowed to go do my real Army job. So I was fortunate to be able to coach and teach at our prep school, and that lasted for 3.5 years. We had a great run there, and that's really where I got the love of coaching and mentoring kids. And fortunately, I was able to step right into a role at the University of Virginia, where I coached from 2010 to 2013. So I was there for 4 seasons. And then I finished up my college coaching career at Princeton as a defensive coordinator there. I was only there for 1 season. Unfortunately, I had a second back surgery at my stint there. So it was time for me where I kind of felt like I had to get my health right. So I stepped away from coaching at that point. And then I was blessed to be able to have the opportunity to come back and reunite with Coach Starja and coach the Chrome for a year in the PLL inaugural season. And, now just hanging out at home, doing a regular job and being a dad. So.
Well, John, it sounds like you were bred to play lacrosse in terms of just your family being all surrounding you and being able to challenge you to the next level and the next level. Do you have a pinnacle lacrosse moment, or are there a couple moments that really stick out to you?
Sure. I think everywhere you go, especially as a coach, you kind of have those moments that'll stick out with you. For me, even just in my own family, a lot of things that really stick out to me are just stuff that my family has done. Watching my brother got to win a national title at Johns Hopkins in 2009, super rewarding to see that, to watch his career. My cousin Randy, I remember being a little kid watching him win a national championship at Springfield when he was a coach. And my uncle, same thing. He won a Long Island championship as a coach as well. So those are great to be able to just be a part of those from a family perspective. But in my own journey, I think the most rewarding thing for me had to be winning a national title with the University of Virginia in 2011. We came off a really tough year that we were fortunate enough to be the lowest seeded team ever to win a national championship at the time. And it was just a really rewarding experience to be a part of, and a lot of work went into that. And super proud of that moment for sure.
That's so cool. And I know that's pretty much how we were able to spark up this conversation. Pat Harbison just speaks so highly of you, and I wanted to reach out and connect. Can you share a little bit more about what that experience was like coaching over at UVA and what type of culture you guys created?
Sure. Like I said, I got there in 2010, and we were really good. I think we went into that year probably the number 1 team. I think we made it to the Final Four. We lost to Duke by a goal. That was a super talented team. We had some tumultuous stuff that happened off the field that kind of changed our program forever. So, again, we went into that 2011 season where we were just trying to make sure that we did everything in our power to be the best possible people we could be. And, we had to make, we had just a great leadership from the start. We just had guys that understood the magnitude of the situation. We were where we were as a program. And, we had just guys that really carried the torch. So we had some pretty strict rules that they imposed. So I think that set us off on the right foot. When you have leaders that are able to set a standard and, the coaching staff is just there to kind of guide, I think you're always in a better position it makes your job as a coach easier. And we were fortunate to have just especially Bray Malfris he's now heavy in the special operations community in the military, just like an absolute, just a stud of a kid. And, he was just really unwavering, and just kind of having him as kind of setting our core bedrock values as a program and a team. We were able to kind of build off that. And, over the course of that year, we probably weren't nearly as talented. We were very injured, especially on the defensive end. And we just kind of found a way to come together and do some things differently. Everyone kind of checked their egos at the door. And then we were able to go on a little bit of a run. Thankfully, we caught kind of fire at the end, and the matchups kind of aligned for us to be able to go on a run. And we did, it was awesome.
That's so neat. And checking the ego at the door is such a big thing, but that's part of being a team. And I think that's why there's so many great skills that you get from lacrosse that translate to the real world and ultimately allow you to be successful. I'd love to hear, what's your definition of leadership, or what does leadership mean to you?
Sure. I think it's probably a little bit cliche, but I think the very best leaders are those ones that really seek to serve, and they just go in with a selfless mindset. I think if you have an ability as a leader to really just try to bring people up and, be able to see their potential and, help them and get them to a place where they can live up to that potential, or especially when you could see potential in people that they didn't see for themselves, to me, that's really the essence of leadership. So, you're there to help people accomplish goals and even set goals, but you're just there to kind of guide them along their own journey. And when you can kind of remove barriers for them to really reach inside themselves to be the best version of themselves, to me, that's leadership. The best leaders do that. They're empathetic. They trust people. They empower the people that are underneath them to do great things. And those are the people you resonate with. You just feel that, it when you meet a genuine person, someone who genuinely cares about you, you're willing to go the extra mile for that person. And to me, that's what leadership, really the fundamental core of it.
Yeah, I think what's coming up clear for me is that strong leader, they're able to bring out the full capacity of those that they're leading at the end of the day, and they're able to really expand upon that. Can you share a little bit about your personal experience leading, whether it was on the field, coaching? Love to hear how you exemplified that.
Sure. I was always a person that, it's nice to have been able to have a decent playing pedigree. So you just kind of got respect kind of going into that, which I think you just start at a good place. But I was always somebody that just felt like I can really see people's talent, and I wasn't afraid to just be genuine with them. And I was always a person that I'm willing to listen to you, but at the same time, we're going to set a standard together, and I just want to hold you to that standard and hold people accountable. And I think just doing that in a genuine way, I wasn't there to just be, there's a difference between just being stern and being harsh and that sort of thing. I look at it from the perspective of here's what we're going to do. We're going to work towards something together. Here's how I'm going to help you get there. And here's the standard. And that's just the standard that we're going to live up to together. And, at the end of the day, I always found that kids want to be led. They want to be coached, at all levels, even at the professional level. Being my first year doing it, those guys, they all want to be pushed to some extent. And, it's a little bit different, but at every level, people want to be kind of led and helped along the way. And if you shoot them straight, you're honest with them, you're able to kind of get the most out of them. And, that's what I tried to do. First off, you're going to know how much I care about you. But then second off, here's what we're going to do. We're not going to make excuses. We're just going to move together and we're going to get there, whether you like it or not in some instances. But when you can pull it out of guys, ultimately, they're going to respect you at the end of the day, and they're going to accomplish what they really set out to do to begin with.
Yeah, and something you keep saying that really is sticking out is setting standards. We have to make sure that we have those standards and that accountability there if we're going to be able to accomplish what we want, because it all takes action and activity. And sometimes we let ourselves off the hook. But if you start setting standards and surround yourself with people that are setting those standards, ultimately it starts raising the bar. Could you share a little bit about what those standards look like, maybe at the college level, and then how that compares to the professional level as well? Because you said they're a little bit different, but they still want to be pushed.
Sure. I mean, like I said, I think it's what the team sets for themselves. I think as a coach, like you're there to, again, guide them along the path. So I think, again, you don't want to get in a position to where you're dictating to your players all the time. I mean, because then it just becomes they'll tune you out. I think you have to get to that place where it's a collective, collaborative environment to where, all right, here's what you guys want, and here's the path that we set out. Here's the goals that we've set, and here's the deviations. Like here's from point A to point B. Here's how we're going to get there. And from there, that's your team collective standard. I mean, the pathway might differ, but there's just those certain core tenets that are non-negotiables. I mean, Mike Tomlin always stuck out to me when he always used to say, no excuses, no explanations. Like that's kind of how I always live my life. Just, we're not going to make excuses here. Like we're not going to explain ourselves, because all we're doing is just allowing us to make an excuse for ourselves. We don't want to live there. We want to live in a place. Here's our goal. We're going to do everything in our power to get there. And, let's just do what we have to do in order to make that happen.
I think that's interesting because it talks about the future, so where we want to be. But then if we start looking at the past or what's happened, we can create those stories. Sometimes that slows us down and prevents us from going there. So being present in the moment and being able to take what opportunities we have and just do the best moment by moment. There's no excuses there. If you're able to just cut off that whatever's in the past and start moving forward, you're able to accomplish great things. And it sounds like a real leader is the one who's able to navigate that situation, or maybe a coach is the one who's able to get players beyond the excuses that happen.
Sure. No, and I think it just starts with that trust factor, right? If you're someone who can actually relate to your players and you see them for who they are, you empathize, you can walk in their shoes, it makes it so much easier to where then you have a two-way conversation. So when those instances of adversity come up, you know that you're coming from a good place. We're on the same page to where, okay, you may tell me something as a coach, I'm going to listen to you, and there's going to be some things that I'm going to take from you and I'm going to implement, or we might not. And then I'll be able to explain that why there's not going to be this tension to where, okay, they don't know what we're actually going through as a team. I think that's how you just remain close. Like you have to have that pulse with your players and know what's kind of going on and see the bigger picture in order to really pull them through that adversity when they don't want to give you everything they have. And that's your job to get it from them. So
it's that communication at the end of the day. On the lacrosse field, you're communicating as a unit, but there's communication that goes as an organization and as a team. And that's so critical. You said having your pulse on the team and being able to know what's going on. And I know we continue to talk about battling adversity, but I'm not sure if the community knows what you've battled through in terms of your past with the surgeries and everything else and injuries. It sounds like you battled a lot of injuries.
Couple.
Would you say it was sports that got you through it, or what has allowed you to continue to battle and show up time and time and time again and continue to be successful?
Sure. I mean, I'm competitive one. I mean, it's kind of born that way. I was born with that kind of chip on my shoulder, just being competitive. But I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things. It's just, you have a choice how you're going to look at each day. You either can get up and look at the positive side of things or look at the negative sides. Like, 99% of what happens to you in life is how you react to 99% of what happens to you in your life. It's not, it's not, I don't know where I'm really going with it, but you just have to be able to react to your circumstance, and you can choose to either get up, keep fighting, or you can lay down and feel sorry for yourself. And I've just always been a person to where no matter what the situation has been, I felt sorry for myself at different times, but you just have to kind of get up and reinvent yourself. And that's kind of your life. That's the maturation of your life, and just trying to fight for that continuous improvement, no matter what it is. Being able to go from, okay, I didn't have a military career, so now I'm into coaching, let's do well there. And then coaching was couldn't do it anymore. So now trying to be successful in the real world out here, so they say. So just kind of keep reinventing yourself, keep waking up and pushing through, hardships, and, you'll get there. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and you look at things in a positive spin, you're going to be okay, and you'll be successful ultimately.
I think that's what I continue to see. The most successful people are the ones that always stay positive and they work hard. It's not very hard, it seems, and they seem to live pretty abundant lives. You did talk about going from playing to coaching to now the real world. What would you say is your biggest takeaway from the lacrosse, either playing or coaching days, that you're now implementing in the real world?
Sure. I mean, it's exactly the things we talked about. It's just having that grit and determination and being able to push through adversity. It's no difference between whether you're trying to hit a sales quota or, you know, you're leading a team in the business world. I mean, what you learn between the white lines is, you know, one, you're always going to be as strong as your weakest link on your team. You know, it's better together when you can work with a collaborative group with the good people, and you surround yourself with good people. You're ultimately going to be successful. And that's one thing that I definitely learned is you're just going to be a product of your environment. So the more success and the people you surround yourself with, that's who you're going to be eventually. You know, you're going to be equal to the sum of those 5 people, if that's how the analogy goes. And that's absolutely true. I've seen that in my own personal life where, you know, again, trying to reinvent myself in the real world, you know, just talking to the right people and you network, and all of a sudden there's very like-minded people. There's college athletes out there, and you get in front of it opens doors for you. And, you know, it's up to you to walk through them at that point. But, you know, you surround yourself with good people, good things will happen to you.
I think that's the interesting thing about lacrosse. There's instant bonding just because you wore the helmet, you have a stick in your hands, and it doesn't really matter where you came from. You can say, hey, love lacrosse. Do you love lacrosse? Awesome. Let's start chatting. And that, like you said, opens the doors. Your network is instantly expounded. Like this conversation wouldn't have happened if it weren't for lacrosse. So I think it's amazing and a cool opportunity.
We're fortunate. It's a small community, and it's just the community of some of the best people you'll ever meet. I mean, I found that, you know, when I was a young coach, even you could just walk up to any single coach on the sideline on a recruiting event. You hear some of the guys I looked up to, Hall of Fame coaches, and they're willing to open up their playbook to teach you. And, you know, that's what's always so great about this. Just you picked up the phone and called me. I didn't know you from anyone. And, you know, Pat Harbison, it's, you know, of course I'll talk to you. Like, that's just how this community is. And again, you just have to take advantage of that. And that's why, you know, making positive impressions on people, and, you know, every time you do strap it up, and, you know, for you younger kids that are watching, you know, be that person, be a good person all the time, you know, and that's going to pay dividends to you in your life after it's all over. And that's really what you can use lacrosse for. It's the biggest door opener you could imagine.
When we talk about the younger guys and gals that are watching this right now and they're wanting to play at the next level, you said always have a positive impact when you buckle up. What other advice do you have for those younger individuals that are looking to play at the next level?
Sure. I mean, take care of your grades first and foremost. You don't want to do anything to limit yourself before let it come down to your play at that point. If you can just have the best academic profile you possibly can have, that's going to just keep those doors open, and then let it come down to your talent, your ability. And I always would tell kids too, just don't have unrealistic expectations. Talk to the people that are around you, talk to your coaches. You want to have a realistic expectation of what are these schools that you can play at. The nice part about lacrosse is there's so many opportunities to play at every single level, and just kind of having that accurate gauge. So then you can have your reach school, you can have your kind of middle of the road schools, and you can have your fallback schools, but you want to just keep as many options open. And then you just want to see as many places as possible. I think everyone gets, you know, this allure of the early commitment and that sort of thing. And then kids end up in places where they don't actually want to be because they didn't know it was actually important to them. So really do some soul searching from that perspective to know what's going to make you happy if lacrosse wasn't there. You know, I think those are things that are just, you know, from when you're thinking about a college decision. But to get yourself as a younger kid, I mean, just working on the fundamentals. I mean, you have to do a lot of this work on your own, play other sports, you know, play basketball, play soccer, play football, do all of those things. And then when you have off time, you know, hit the wall. And, you know, that work that you do, you know, when nobody's watching, that's where the magic's made. And you have to be willing to do those fundamental things. And that's what they're looking for at the next level. You know, guys that are going to be hard workers, they're going to do the right thing when no one's looking, you know. And when you have a positive network of people that are collaborating that in the recruiting process, you're going to open up a lot of doors for yourself.
I think that hit on so many great points, and I want to highlight a couple things. It comes down to integrity. If you take care, it's how you do something's how you do everything. So taking care of your grades, doing the extra work, doing the right things when no one's watching, they all build into the character that we have and ultimately allow us to be good people, at least what we exemplify as a good person. Now, if we're talking to someone in Arizona or in Alaska, wherever they may be scared of the opportunity to reach out and speak with one of these top coaches. But John, I know you have experience at all levels of play. How would you recommend these young people reach out or try to get on a team if they do have the talent and they do have their grades?
Sure. I mean, being proactive in the process. I mean, again, you're just going to have to beat down those doors. I mean, pick up the phone. I mean, I used to love hearing from kids and seeing those kids that, you know, it's not their parents that are calling. I want to have a kid shake my hand, look me in the eyes. That's going to be proactive in that process. Because you can tell right away the kids that are mature, that understand the magnitude of the decision that they're about to make, you know, I think is so important. And you can tell that in 5 minutes. You know, again, you just got to get it out there. And then if you're in a non-traditional hotbed, you know, trying to get yourself to play on, you know, as good a team as possible just to get you that exposure. I mean, because if I'm at the University of Virginia and I'm not at the field that you're on, I might not see you. So doing what you can to make yourself put yourself play up as best as you possibly can. But at the same time, you don't want to play too much. We used to say too, the exposure is a two-way street. So you want to just get to the right tournaments at the right time. And, you know, again, have your high school coach advocate for you as well.
I think that's another big thing, to have a sponsor and an advocate, someone who can preach for you and do the work so you can focus on doing the work as well. And I think that's part of leadership. As we look at an organizational level, we all have different roles on a team. So let's execute on those roles. And if you do have good character, if you have good rapport with your coach has good rapport with the rest of the coaches, it should be a pretty easy street in order to get a conversation and show your maturity. It sounds like that's something that really goes a long way, is having that maturity and being able to look in someone's eyes.
Absolutely. Again, you have a few minute interaction. I get to see you play, but then you only have, you know, the one visit or so. And then you have to convince me that you're the right person that I want to build my team with. And I have to do the same as a coach to you. I think it's just, you have to get to that place to where it feels right for both parties. You know, it's just, you're going to know that as a player, you know, when you walk into that room and you look that coach in the eye, whether that's the coach that you're going to entrust with your livelihood as well. And you just want it to be a marriage that's created to last. You just don't want to end up at a place to where, okay, I'm not starting, or I just came here to play lacrosse and then this doesn't have the major that I was actually interested in. Just make sure you're doing that homework and don't get kind of wowed by the commitment. Get to the right place. I mean, that happened to me in my recruiting process. I never thought Army was the right place for me. It was probably the last place I wanted to visit. And, you know, it turns out once I got around the guys on the team and took that recruiting trip, there was no other place that I could see myself. So you just don't know until you actually go and see as many places as possible.
I think that's a great thing, to just get that experience at the end of the day and be able to move and learn more about yourself and do the deep thoughts, because sometimes we don't think, we just do, and we forget to take a breath.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah, everything's just right on our phone. It's on the internet. It's all here. To switch gears a little bit, John, just because I know we're coming up on time right now, is there anything that you're working on right now, or any goals that we can help you with? Or could you share what goals look like for you now that you're not in the lacrosse realm, just so that folks can see what that looks like for someone who's been so successful?
It's no different. I mean, I just, like, you have to just, whatever, you always want to be working towards something, whatever it is. It could be something simple, whether it's a workout goal. I want to be able to bench press this, or I want to be able to run 2 miles in this amount of time. Just doing those things just allow you to, again, that continuous improvement, just going to keep you in a healthy state of mind to be able just to achieve. You know, for me, you know, again, you know, at work, okay, I have to sell whatever product that I sell. I want to be in the top % of people in my company. So that's what I'm going to do, the things, figure out what those steps are that can get me there. What daily activities do I have to do to be able to drive that end goal? And so whatever it is in your life, just simple things like that. You know, again, try to read, you know, there's always somebody who thought of something that you haven't on how to continually improve yourself. Like, just read Obstacle is a Way, is a good book. Brian Holiday, very good. Just, especially now, that was a perfect book. We read it. Our whole company read it during this pandemic, and it was a perfect microcosm of what the country's going through. Like, when you can lean into obstacles, there's actually some good that can come out of a bad situation, and just your ability to lean into those and be able to fight through it. That's where you're going to separate yourself from other people.
I love the idea of leaning into that, because there's always opportunities and there's always a positive spin of any situation. And I think you've just shown throughout this conversation that your whole life has been turning a positive spin on every challenge that you faced. In the last minute or two, John, is there anything else that's on your mind that you'd like to share with this lacrosse leadership community that we have?
I think you're just doing a great thing. That we need more of this type of stuff in the world. I mean, it's easy to be cynical in today's age, but when you actually peel it back and get to see people for people, you realize there's so much good in the world. I think as a whole, we all just need to take that collective deep breath and realize how lucky we are to be in this country, be Americans. And we're really talking about playing lacrosse here and getting to the next level, or, we have small problems in the grand scheme of life. So step back from it all and realize we're in a pretty good place. We're very lucky. That's Coach Starr's always just to end practice by saying we have a lot to be thankful for, and it's absolutely true. If you take that with your everyday, like, no matter what happens to you, like, it could be a lot worse. So embrace it.
So true. We're so blessed. And John, thank you so much for taking the time to share with our community. I really appreciate it. I know everyone else does. The comments have been going pretty crazy. Just if I look away for a moment, there's a couple right here. Just it looks like George Fox said, John,
there he
one of
is.
the best players I've ever coached. Impressive individual. Eric Mineo, go Army Lacrosse. A couple of great comments out here.
Good people. Thanks so much for having me, Ryan. I really appreciate it. It's fun.
John, appreciate you so much. Take care.
Of course. You have a great night.